Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. I'm your host, James Price. This is episode 36. We've got a hospitality guru today. I'm with Phil Hallani. Phil, thanks for joining us.
James, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's lovely to have you.
But guru, I don't know about the word guru.
I thought I'd test that out.
That was straight away. I was like, oh no.
Do you want me to have another go?
No, absolutely not. That's fine.
Tell me about your hospitality experience, right? You own a few hospitality properties in Western Sydney. And I think just for our guests, I'd like you to just talk about those a little bit. So what do you do currently?
For sure. So right now, currently what we have a cafe called Percy Plunkett, Italian restaurant next door called Gella Frenda, a fish shop called Fish, which is like a cool take on a classic fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
And a year ago we opened the Orchard, which has been been a crazy 12 months, but it's a project that took us 5 years to get off the ground. So pretty amazing. But it all started at my parents' milk bar. My parents have been in convenience stores and takeaway
Really?
shops. Yeah. So I before Percy Plunkett, I ran my parents' milk bar for 10 years, and that's where I learned everything about hospitality.
So where was that milk bar?
Kingswood, still operating, still their business today.
How amazing is that? Right?
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so they've had that milk bar right from day...
98.
Really?
Yeah, and before that they had another one in Wellington for 15 years. So I grew up in milk bars and takeaway shops my whole life.
Yeah? What did you learn from milk bars and takeaway shops that that you could apply to business today, do you think?
Hard work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the hours. If you want to make the money, you have to do the hours. But the most important thing was the hospitality. So obviously our background's Lebanese, and there's a saying that we didn't get into hospitality, we were born into it. And my parents obviously, you see people coming over to our house on a Friday, Saturday night, the hospitality I would give to them, but that translates into the business as well. So people walk into your business and you treat them like family. The customer becomes a guest, becomes a friend, becomes family. So I'd say the two things it taught me hospitality and it taught me hard work.
Yeah, okay. And Lebanese heritage.
Yeah, Lebanese background.
Yeah. The family aspect, is that what, if you reflect on your businesses today, is there something special from that heritage that comes through? Is it the family aspect that's deep in that heritage, or is it something else?
You're saying does the family aspect translate to the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's every business I've ran it like a family business. So the staff, we make them feel like family, and you try to make it as personal as possible with the staff. Yeah. You learn along the way. You got to probably have some boundaries, but the most important thing is just treating your people like family, and I think that's so important. Yeah.
So how old do you remember back when you worked in the milk bar? Like, how old were you?
So obviously I've been around them since day one. For as long as I can remember, I've been in milk bars. I reckon around 10 or 11, I would help fill up the milk fridges, the drink fridges, fill up the little bags of lollies. They were the early day memories that we didn't have any staff. Our whole team was our family, So my parents would work the bulk of the hours, and then the siblings. I have 5 other brothers and sisters, and they'd be doing a bit of everything, from filling up lollies to packing the shelves to cleaning to mopping. It was a pretty cool time. But I reckon from about 10 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
And those brothers and sisters, are they all in hospitality as well?
So my parents still own a milk bar now, and one of my brothers runs that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another brother that has a little pizza shop in Penrith, and then the rest of my family are in like either corporate or kind of just odd jobs. Yeah.
So was there a point in time in your early years where you said, "I'm destined for this. This is what I want. I want a career in hospitality"? Like, do you remember when you made that decision, or was it in your veins from 10 years in the milk bar, and it just from 10 years old in the milk bar, and that it just sort of morphed into what it is today?
When I was earlier on, my passion I have for hospitality now was focused on footy. I loved footy. That was my dream. Yeah. It wasn't good enough, but that was a dream. So that was my focus. And I know up until about pretty much from high school to about 17, 18, I didn't want to be in milk bars, takeaway shops. I loved people, but I just didn't love the business. But obviously it was a family business, so you work from your heart.
Yeah.
But as I got older and, as the passion for that guest experience and people coming into the business, and I just love the fact, I'd say from my early 20s is when it was the passion and obsession developed for, I want to make this my career and this is what I want my future to be.
Did you have an extra confidence because it was what you knew?
No, and this is probably anyone in hospitality or anyone in business, I think imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
no matter how much we've achieved, no matter what we've done, every day I've always backed myself, but imposter syndrome is real. And it's like,
Yeah.
I tell you, it's no matter what we've achieved. Like when we opened Percy Plunkett, I thought, okay, maybe that was a fluke, When I opened Fish, I'm like, oh, we got lucky, like it's just, you constantly doubting yourself. But I also think it's a positive because it always makes you say, hey, what's next? How do I stay relevant? What do I got to do? So, but the confidence, I back myself, but it's the confidence has been, it gets hit a lot. Yeah.
Okay. But, sort of personal characterization. What are the three things you're really good at? If you think about your businesses, right? I mean, you say you back yourself. What are the things that you back because you know that you're good at? If you had to pick three attributes that Phil's known for, or that Phil for, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there's two things that are just the most important thing, which I'm obsessed about and I love. Obviously, is building like amazing cultures and creating a team, a family-like team, and guest experience. They're the two things that for me are just. I'm very confident in that, and I know that going into a venue, these are the things I can do. Mm-hmm. And I think the third thing, I'd probably sit there and say it's a mix of creating a brand and staying relevant. Like they're probably the three things. Like so, you create a guest experience. So any venue you have has to have good food and good coffee. Like that's a given. You have to have that, right? But that's no longer enough. You have to. What differentiates you from everyone else? Why are people coming back? And what do you constantly go back to Percy Plunkett? It's the way we make you feel, right? But if we want to make you feel special, I need to make my team feel special. Yes. So they're the two things. And when I opened Percy's, I'd only been in family businesses before, so I didn't know any different. I thought this is how if someone's moving, if your staff's moving houses, you go help them move. If they're staying back to clean, you stay back and clean. Yeah. Like there's no other way. So the culture that I'm building within my businesses has been natural to me for forever, So I'd say the three things would be guest experience, culture, and obviously brand. Brand, yeah. I'm obsessed about creating an amazing brand, and I think we've done that through our businesses. The brand, they're all very different. Like if you look at all four, they're all very different, yeah.
Well, choose Percy's, for instance. The three things that you would describe that brand, if there were three words to describe it, or a couple of words, how would you describe that brand?
Community, personable, and home feel.
Yeah, yeah.
You walk into Percy's, our it's on the back of our shirts. It says "Welcome Home." So you walk into Percy's, it's like you're coming to your home. You're getting treated. Yeah. We know your coffee. We know a lot more about you because we want to know about you. Everyone that comes to Percy's that works there, generally, we don't really do much recruiting. Generally, it's I got a staff member that loves the culture. Their friend asks, "Hey, I'd love to work with you guys." So only when we're looking for specific roles like experienced baristas, experienced chefs, generally it's people that have worked there or working there and their friends see how happy they are and they come and join. So you can't join Percy's if you haven't got the kindness and the caring. They're two of our biggest values, right? Yeah. And so that's why you feel great when you walk into Percy's, because of that experience, So
I think I got to be careful because I'm biased, right? Because I'm a customer at Percy's, but I get that. I feel that. I feel that. It's very special. Like it's amazing, right? I can go in there and people know me. They talk to me by my name, and even if they don't know my name, you feel like you're at home. So I certainly feel that. There's something very special in that environment. It's interesting. I was talking to a hospitality owner who owns a reasonably large cafe in Martin Place in the city, and he's the son of friends of mine who own a Greek restaurant, and we were musing about restaurants and cafes and how they are, and he said, the trouble is, James, there's a lot of plastic restaurants and cafes that just seem to be all the same. Do you see that in the industry? Is that a thing? And why is it so if it's a thing?
I think the last few years, you feel everyone's kind of going the same direction, mainly because of social media. So you see, like, as a cafe owner, you watch what other people do.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, maybe we should do something like this, but it's different, you know? They're doing this. So then your menu becomes similar, your fit outs become similar. And that's one of the things about staying relevant is, like, if everyone's trying to do copy and paste and do the same thing, that's why we change our menu every 3 months. But it's 100%. It's a thing where it's starting to feel everything's the same.
Yes.
But if you have a point of difference and if you differentiate yourself from others, that's why you consistently stay busy and consistently grow because you're constantly trying to find ways to evolve and change, you know. So,
but is that culture aspect part of how you create that point of difference?
100%. So when we first opened Percy's, I had an amazing chef team, but I didn't know what I wanted for my food, and it wasn't the chef's fault, but I felt like we couldn't execute the level of what I wanted, and I felt it was natural, but if the food wasn't at 10 out of 10, we had to go compensate with great service.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that was very natural for us. So we always made sure we had the great service, great guest experience. And then as we evolved and as we understood more of who we are, then the menu evolved. And now I look at our venue and it's like, we serve great food and coffee, great guest experience and great culture. Like it's those, and the venue's beautiful, you know? So you got a beautiful venue, people come and check it out. You make them, the food tastes good, they're going to come back. You treat them well. You know, there's a saying, I think it's like, if people have 3 positive experiences, you have them for life, like in a row. If they come 3 times, and you know, so for us, it was very normal. Like the first 2 years, I was at Percy's every single day. So the culture and that guest experience, like I'll probably say that a million times in this podcast, but that's the differentiating point between everyone else. Like it's, you know, you got to stay relevant. You got to keep you got to stay on trend with the whole reels and social media. But you can do it your way. You don't have to follow everyone, but you can do it your way, you know, so.
I love this and I want to spend some time on it, right? Because we value businesses for a living and typically valuers have looked at the financials, right? They've looked at all the hard data and the performance, the returns and what have you. But increasingly, we spend a lot of time looking at a business's culture and their brand and a lot of the soft issues around that and how they deliver what they deliver. You know, if it's all lined up, the financial performance should flow, right? But you know, back in the day, all we looked at is the accounts. Now we spend half our time looking at the strength of the team and their culture because we know that if you've got that culture and brand profile, it goes to sustainable earnings. And sustainable earnings are the things people, you know, value because they're into the future. But I think a lot of people, a lot of business owners they sort of think about culture and they think, yeah, I know I have to have a good one, but how the stuff do I do it, right? So unpack it for us. Help us understand, right? How do you – and you touched on it a little bit earlier on, but I think it'd be really good to get a sense of the herbs and spices behind how you drive that culture, right? Because it's not an easy thing to create, I don't think.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to create, but it's constantly evolving. Because as you know, hospitality, you're constantly
it's amazing
losing staff, and you're constantly you're finding new staff. So you're getting new staff coming in, creating a better culture, keep that culture. Sometimes you might find someone that it doesn't fit the culture, so you kind of got to say, look, it's not working. But I think first and foremost, if you're not obsessed about hospitality, well, I'm talking specifically culture for hospitality, you know.
Yeah.
If you're not obsessed about people, then you shouldn't be doing it, you know. You can't, it's not sustainable because it's so hard that it gets to a point where if you don't love people, then you get all these problems arise, and you're like, it's not worth it.
Too heavy on your shoulders.
It's too heavy, yeah. So if you love something as much as I love what we do in the hospitality, if we have an issue, it's quite easy for me to solve. So, you know, what is it about Percy's culture that, you know, so I make everyone feel, I understand they're not family, but we have a family-like culture.
Yeah.
You know, we treat people, we check up on them. If they're sick, you message them that afternoon, evening saying, how you feeling? And being genuine. So, you know, you got to love people. You have to be genuine. You have to make sure you're looking out for your team. You know, you might get a guest come in and and sit there and blast a staff member because they waited too long. I'll go up to them and apologize about the wait time, but I say, this is not how you talk to our staff members.
Yeah.
This is not on. I have to have my team's back, So, and it's not something in the word culture and gets thrown around so much.
It does, man.
It's so much, right? But I think if you're consistent, we have every cafe and restaurant, like from when we started to now, we've lost staff, got new staff. But I think if you look at our business, opposed to a lot of hospitality businesses, the turnover is a lot, like the period is a lot longer where they stay with us.
Yeah.
So generally they say there's a 12-month cycle. I would say ours is more 24 months, because
in terms of retention.
Yeah. I have people that say, hey, we don't really like hospitality, but we love what Percy's is and we don't want to leave, but also like the job's getting hard. So that's when I sit there and say, hey, if you don't love what you're doing, then you have to find something.
Make a decision.
Yeah. But it's really special when you have, even I've had staff leave Percy's, generally, I reckon let's just say I've had 100 staff over the last 6 years at Percy's. I reckon I've only had maybe 5 go to another cafe. Generally, if they're in hospitality, they're at Percy's, and then the next job would be the changing careers, or because generally hospitality is like a filling gap, right? So
yes.
Unless you want to make it a career, you're in uni, high school, it's a filling gap job. Some people do it for a short period, like full time, and then they go jump into something else. I've got a few staff that have that mentality; they want to make it their career.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the culture is the most important part of anything you do. Like
so, I mean, this may be the wrong characterisation, but you almost described yourself as a father figure to the team there. In me listening to it,
that's it. But yeah, you can say it that way. Yeah.
Right. So how do you, if that's the case, when you're not there, how do you make sure that the culture keeps developing? Right? Do you identify leaders within the team that start to take up the same sort of approach to culture? How does it get a snowball effect, if you like, or is it very much dependent on the father figure?
So it's you. If you're in there and you're a product of your environment, right?
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there and you're treating your staff well and you're looking after them, they have a sense of they don't want to let you down when you're out of the business, right? So my staff, I'll give you a perfect example. Brianna, who you probably guessed
yes.
by, she's the restaurant manager now, and she started as a waitress. She was doing dancing, and waitress was like a part-time casual job.
Yeah.
And I remember when she first started, like, because she didn't have enough experience, she wasn't the best waitress, but she had the most unbelievable attitude. Like, just nothing's a problem, the happiest girl. People would, like, she would make a million mistakes, but people would love her. Like, she was just the most amazing. Like, till this day, I don't think I've met anyone in the industry as amazing as her.
Yeah.
And I think what happened with her was, as she kind of enjoyed doing her role, she started getting, it's very easy to train someone if they got a good attitude and a good person, right?
Mm.
But the reason why she's so great as a manager is because she had the right qualities at the start, the attitude. She wants to learn. She loves people. So as she got better at her job, it was like you have this amazing human who's amazing at her job, and it's like this perfect fit. So and they're watching our actions. They're seeing how we're dealing with complaints. They're seeing how we deal with our guests, our staff. Like she would come to me and say, hey, this person's saying they're a bit upset at work because of A, B, and C. So you sit there and you try to coach them through that. So essentially you're mirroring someone. So if I want to train you to be the manager at Percy's, I'll get you to work with me for the next 6 months, see how we do things, and then very quickly you'll know if hey, this is what the role I want to have. So it's very because we have such a caring culture, it's very easy when I step out that people are in there. It's like they don't want to let you down, and it's a very special thing to have.
So they take on the challenge for you.
Absolutely, they take on the challenge, and it's always a work in progress. Culture isn't something you just set up and go, okay, we're good to go now. It's a work in progress, like anything, right? So you're constantly finding ways. Like, what is it? So there was a period at Percy's where during daylight savings every Wednesday we'd do the river walk together, the whole team. Every 6 to 8 weeks we try to go do a catch up. Either it's team training or a dinner, or some people only do that once a year for Christmas parties. But you got to keep them engaged. You got to keep them happy. You got to keep them. There's got to be a purpose of why they're being there, right? So, but yeah, if you're to create that culture, you have to love people and you have to be obsessed about hospitality.
Yeah. So attitude, want to learn, love people,
and good people, good person.
Yeah. So they're the sort of core ingredients, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think it's interesting what you've said about it's an ongoing thing. It's not like, I've created a culture now, we'll set it up on the shelf and it'll work for us. It needs to be nurtured and developed. And there's a lot of, for our listeners and the audience, I think there's a lot of interesting insights there, because when you think about it in hospitality, in some respects, it's probably the hardest industry to create a good culture because of that transience.
Of course.
Yeah, where there's a lot of more, in some respects, I don't know, it's not the right word, stable businesses because of their workforce over time that might have more permanent roles. But they've all got the challenge around culture, right? And I think you've sort of let us in on a few good insights around that. But I tell you what, if I look at businesses we value, the ones that have got a premium, they've got something special often, and it's wound up in their culture and their brand. Now, hospitality, bloody complex, isn't it? Like, you've got food that's perishable. You've got guests that are feral. No, they're not. But they've got an expectation. They're there to have a good time. You've got staff. We talked about some of the issues with staff, and then you've got to make something that's beautiful, so they come back. There's a lot of complexity, isn't there? Or do you not see that because you've grown up with it?
Yeah, I 100% I see it. It's a lot easier for me to deal with because I love it. You know what I mean? So it's like don't get me wrong. There's times where you're like, is the return worth the effort?
Mm-hmm.
Is the return worth the effort? Is that the word?
Yeah.
And I think, like hospitality now, the margins are so thin. You come to Percy's and essentially the staff member will have anywhere from 7 to 10 interactions with you, from sitting you down, giving you a bottle of water, asking you for coffee, dropping your coffee off, taking your food order, dropping your food off, giving you another coffee, clearing your plates, giving you the bill. That's nearly 10 experiences right there. And the crazy thing is, right now in hospitality, the hardest thing is it's a lot of businesses are closing. So we're very, very lucky that we've been around for 6 years now, and we've built a really good community, a really good support base, a loyal following. But the hardest thing with hospitality right now would be give you a perfect example. 95% of our produce comes in GST free.
Yes.
So you get this bottle of water, it's GST free. I sell it to you. I get end of the week, if we do $10,000 sales, for example, I have to pay my 10% on that.
Yeah.
But 90% of my stock is GST. So I'm not getting any GST back, but I'm paying 10%. So every week, if you do 10 grand straight away, 10%, you don't even look at that. Straight away, that goes away. And then cafes, you can't charge restaurant prices. So if you have a pasta, you might charge $32 in a restaurant, which you should be. But in a cafe, because it's considered breakfast and brunch, you got to charge $24, $25. So your food costs are higher, wage costs are higher. So you have to find ways to stay relevant, keep the service really high, but also make sure your business stays sustainable. So this is the hardest I've ever seen in business in 6 years.
Is it?
Yeah, the hardest, absolutely the hardest. So the staff situation is better. A couple of years ago, after COVID, it got really bad.
Was very hard.
Really hard. And then that I felt kind of evened out a bit. But you just, like, we have every 1st of July, there's a wage increase for our staff, and deservedly so. Like, they're working, they want it, they deserve it. But just in the week of the pay increase of the staff, I think our costs went up anywhere from $600 to $800 a week. I can't raise my coffee prices. I can't go any higher on my breakfast burger. I can't. So you have to be smart and find ways. Okay, how do we create ways to keep the guest experience as special as it is, keep our business sustainable, so I can keep paying my staff and keep paying them the top rate and award rate and above. But it's very hard. But you look at the most successful people in hospitality, and they're just their obsession and passion for what they do they'll always find a way.
So you talked to me there about 7 or 8 different interactions at Percy's with a staff member. Very detailed, focused, right?
And that's sequence of service. That's our sequence of service, right? So
yeah.
It's minimum 7 interactions in an hour of you being there, and we got a 150-seater restaurant.
So is that an ingredient to success when others are failing at the moment? You said a lot a lot of failing? Are they not having the attention to detail around each of those things, or what's going wrong?
It's a mix of things. So it's some people are opening businesses from the outside. If you see Percy's on a weekend, you think thriving, right? Which we're very grateful. We're busy, we're profitable, it's doing well, but you have to keep looking at the 1%ers. Oh, I've got to delay this staff member half an hour. I've got to delay this staff member half an hour. I've got to send this person half an hour early. Finding the balance where we're quiet, we've got to send people home, but then you get busy later on as soon as you send people home. Yeah. And it's a mix of things. So it's people opening a cafe, not understanding the work that goes behind it. Yeah. People not enough experience. And right now, if you're doing well in hospitality, it's hard. So if you're not doing that well, it's diabolical. Like it's pretty bad. Yeah.
So, but you're saying focus on the 1%ers because they matter, right? And
101%ers is 100%, right?
Yeah.
And we're never going to be 100%, but you focus on the 1%ers. Small things make a big difference, right? So it's the little things. You have to sweat the small stuff. You know.
But sounds like you get off on that. You enjoy that, right?
It's making people happy. Coming into the venue, coming in for breakfast and walking away going, what the hell? Like, that was amazing. There's no better feeling. It's a drug. It's the most amazing feeling. People walk into the venue and then within 3 or 4 visits, you follow me on social media, you start chatting, you go out for lunch with them. I guarantee you I reckon 80% of our guests are people that I know first name basis. And that's not because and that's the thing is, it has to be genuine. Yeah. People can read through that straight away, see through that straight away. If you're not genuine, they'll know that very quickly that, well, they're good, but I feel like it's not genuine, or they're not genuine.
So what's the trick to making it genuine? I mean, that's a weird question, right? But is it I'm wondering whether you've got to have a longer term, you've almost got to have a longer term outlook, because I think genuineness gets stuffed up where there's an impatience around a result, right?
Yeah.
Or there's actually an agenda for a result where, sometimes it's a bit like sometimes the journey will discover it, right? So it's a very interesting environment, right? Because in some respects you've got to be, those 1%ers, but you've also got to sort of let things flow.
100%. And there's so many mistakes that happen during service, but it's how you react to them, right? So something goes wrong, guests, we haven't communicated with the guests that it's a 45-minute wait on food. They get upset. How do you resolve that? So we've found ways to, if it's like what happens if the guest is unhappy? What's the processes we go through that? So, and because we've been doing it for 6 years, especially with Percy's, we find a problem, we can solve it very quickly. So
yes.
Like we know now that if you come into Percy's on a Saturday and there's going to be a wait time, before you sit down, we'll let you know the wait time. Then our floor staff will let you know again how long the wait will be. So the expectation has been set from the start. Yeah. So I think for us, when you go to someone like a venue like Percy Plunkett, you know what you're getting. You know what you're coming in for. You know what you get. The consistency is why people keep coming back.
So consistency, but expectation management. But that's not just in hospitality.
Well,
you think about across every sector,
100%,
right?
Yeah. You can anything that you do in hospitality, you can put it into any industry, like without a doubt. Like one of the biggest things I do is I reach out to a lot of people in different industries to understand. Because if you just reach out to hospitality operators, you're generally getting the same kind of answer. But if you reach out to, there was a guy in his name was Peter Harley, owns Fitstop, which has over 100 locations. Yeah. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I just want to chat with you and talk to you about what do you do differently in your business? And then he'll talk to me about some of the things he does for his culture, some of the things he does within his franchise business. And so you might talk to him for an hour and get 10 minutes of just absolute gold. So what I've learned in hospitality, I could put it in any industry. And I mean, you look at culture and guest experience, any business. Doesn't matter if you got a plumbing business or a valuation business or you're in corporate. Like, I remember my brother used to tell me they'd have this company come in and they'd start, this company would come into, my brother works at Macquarie Bank, and they'd come into the bank and it'd be team building exercises. Yeah. Like, it's what I've been doing from day one at the cafes and the restaurants, So,
yeah, I reckon you could go to Macquarie Bank and...
Well, absolutely not. No, I wouldn't do that. But my point is
exactly.
There's people doing that as a job, going to other industries and teaching, training. And this is why I feel like, I think every single person in high school should work in hospitality, because the things it teaches you, working under pressure, dealing with unhappy people, making people feel special, like it teaches you so many life skills, and it's something that I think everyone has to do.
But it sounds like to me that you're a curious bugger.
Very.
To the point where you've run a podcast. Now, why did you do that? I mean, you sound like you're looking for information all the while from different sources. Yeah.
So I started the podcast. So what happened was I was at my parents' milk bar, and I wanted to open a cafe. My obsession was like, great, footy didn't work out. I was like, all right, like what do I love? And people and hospitality is what I loved. And I didn't love the shop my parents owned because it was like just a milk bar.
Yes.
I'd lost the passion for it, and I wanted to open my own venue, cafe, restaurant. And I was like, okay, like the best way to learn is going to people, and if you got 20 years experience or something and I go ask you, it's like I get an hour meeting will give me 20 years of experience, right?
Yes.
So I started reaching out to all these different operators, went to the grounds of Alexandria. I worked there for free for 3 months just to learn, understand. Yeah. So I started reaching out to owners, and I sit there and say, hey, what do you do? What's your, how do you hire staff? How do you create menus? All this kind of stuff. And then I'd go back to my other friends in the industry and I'd be like, what'd they say when you met with them? So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just start a podcast? Ask them the questions I want to ask, then everyone else can learn what it's about. And that kind of just evolved. And like I've built some unbelievable relationships with people that I've done the podcast with. My biggest year of growth was the year I did the podcast, 100%, like without doubt. It was just amazing because you want to keep finding the edge. You want to keep understanding, what can I do better? How can I change this? Like I said, I literally went out. I remember one day I reached out to a guy and I said to him, hey, I'd love to know, like, he had this beautiful cafe. And I said, I want to know how you do, like how you hire staff. So I went there and he gave me this process of how we hire staff, when they send him a resume, what it replies with. And it's something I did for my first business at Percy's. And it weeded out all the time wasters, and it was unbelievable.
And you could have not done that, tried and fiddled around yourself and had, a period of flatness while you were trying to actually get going. Yeah.
It's exactly right. It's always going to be hard, no matter what. You can learn from everyone. It's still going to be hard doing it, but
you still got to do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't I reach out to the grounds owner when I was wanting to open a cafe? Firstly, what do I have to lose if they say no? Secondly, from there, if they give me one piece of advice, that could literally change my whole business, So it's learning from others. That's probably one biggest thing. Anyone that comes up to me says, we want to open a cafe, I was like, just go work somewhere for free. Go work in a business. Is this really what you want to do? You'll know very quickly if this is what you want to do. And when I went to the grounds, the coolest thing about it was, from a customer's point of view, I walked in, I was like, this is the most unbelievable business in the world. But then when I went in and I was just doing odd jobs, I realized that they didn't have it all together.
No.
From the guest point of view, they do. But like every business, no matter how smooth Percy's looks, I guarantee every day there's problems. Like on Monday last week, it was one of the busiest weekdays we've ever had. Dishwasher broke down. So we had to take all our plates from Percy's and cups and take it next door to Gella Frenda.
Oh my God.
And no one's seen that. No one understood that. But you never, it's like a duck on water, right?
You've got to improvise.
Have to improvise. So I can't stress enough, learning from others is just, like I said, I'll never stop learning. Like,
But how did you get that zest for learning? Because I knock around with a lot of business owners, and I think sometimes ego gets in the road of that, right? Like I think you get to a point in your 40s where maybe, just for argument's sake, where, well, I've done the hard yards. I know how this engine works. I just need to grow it now. I don't need to worry about the business model, so to speak. It's not broke. Don't fix it. Just get on with it, right? What did you just develop that curiosity and learning ability as a young dude growing up in Kingswood and other places, or did you just have enough pressure on you that it finally dawned on you that you had to be that sort of person?
So one thing I know is I know what I don't know. So it's very easy for me. I'm like, okay, I'm really good with people, but I don't know how to run a business. So reach out to people that have really successful businesses. I don't know how to set up sequence of service. Go to someone that has an amazing flawless service. So if I go to a cafe and the experience is flawless, I'll ask them, I'd love to know, how do you do? What do you? I've I've always tried to reach out. I've never cared about rejection ever. For me, it's about like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if they say no? So for me, reaching out to people, reaching out to other operators, even when I was playing footy, like I reached out to NRL coaches.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd love to learn. And I was a terrible footy player, but my obsession for wanting to get better made me reach out to players. And I got an amazing opportunity through that. But when it got into hospitality, I was like, I can go reach out to these people. If they say no, cool, I'll go to the next person. But because I know what I don't know, I know what I don't know. I think it's
you know what you don't know.
There's no ego. Like, I'm okay to say, hey, I don't know what you mean. What does that mean? What does that word mean? You know, so for me, reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'm really good at this, but I'm struggling with this. And it still happens. Like, I'm still trying to fine tune my guest experience. I'm still trying to fine tune my sequence of service. Still trying to I found putting cutlery on the table outside at Percy Plunkett was taking too long for our staff, and it was stopping from looking after the customer. So we got cutlery holders. We put cutlery in holders. And now instead of putting 4 cutlery pieces on each person, bang, here's your cutlery. The experience is still great, but the staff saved 30 seconds now. 30 seconds over 100 customers adds up, right?
That's amazing, right? Just the productivity lesson in one example, right?
Yeah.
Which looks very minute, but obviously delivers a lot of value to the team as they're trying to deliver what they deliver, yeah?
Yeah. We have a rule at Percy's and all my businesses, and I had a training session yesterday at the Orchard where we have a water rule. So as soon as you sit down in the business, we put a bottle of water on your table. That indicates to the rest of the staff that are working in the venue that you've been asked for a coffee. So as soon as I drop the water on the table, can I get you a coffee? Can I get you a flat white? If I know you're a pickler, can I get you a long black?
Yeah.
So I know that if I walk past your table and there's a bottle of water there, you've been asked for a coffee. 9 times out of 10, they'll generally say yes straight away. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, give us a minute," whatever. But if that's the case, the staff member will go to that person in that section and say, "Hey, I've dropped water off the table. They need a few more minutes." So you don't see that there becomes streamlined, right? It's just smooth. But people don't understand, how do they know what's next, like what part? And it's very easy to create, but it's very hard to maintain that standard. So it's always, I'll walk past someone that's asking for a coffee. I'm like, "Hey, where's the water?" You have to, with the water rule, as soon as it gets half full, go replace and say, "Can I get you another?" Like, where you go to replace. Great opportunity to touch a table and say, "Hey, are you guys good for coffees or drinks?" You know, one of those touch points. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, I think your point about knowing what you don't know is a critical component. I see it in the very best business owners. They know what they don't know. They're eager to learn. They're curious, and they're intense on their business, but they're also intense on the sector and the industry and other industries, because they're looking. Their tentacles are out looking for information.
Yeah,
and I find it even with my team. Young group of analysts. There are egos around, not wanting to ask a question and seem dumb, right? But if you can break that and make people feel comfortable just to ask, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so scared of failure. I'm happy to try something and fail, no problem, because you the regret of not knowing what could have been is worse, and But for me, if I haven't done everything in my power to make something successful, then I'm going to have this fear of I didn't reach out to enough people. I didn't ask the questions. I just don't care how dumb I look. I don't care how silly the question is. For me, it's not a matter of that. It's like, I want to be the best at what we do. To do that, we have to get uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
What's the saying? Hard is easy and easy is hard. So for me, I look at the things I've done and reached out. Like, there's a place in Brisbane probably has the most amazing hospitality experience. It's called the Calile Hotel.
Nice, I've heard of it.
Amazing.
I've heard of it.
And the first time I went there, it was the most perfect hospitality experience of my life. From them pressing the button for me to go up to the elevator, to them taking me up to the room to show us the room, to them knowing we all knew. And my next step is to go do a 3-month work process there. I want to go work there and understand what makes them so good at what they do, So you never have it figured out. If you think you've got it figured out, you're in trouble. So for me, it's constantly those little 1%ers. How do we get better? What do we need to do? Ask the questions, still reach out to people, You look at my Instagram, sometimes I'm reaching out to I send a video message to someone saying, hey, my name's Phil. I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to meet you and chat to you about your business and what you do. And most times people are pretty open. Sometimes they say no, that's okay. But I'm just so scared of failing because I haven't put the work in to make it successful. I'm not scared of failing because at the end of I'm not scared of not being successful. I'm scared of not trying and doing everything in my power that makes me fail.
I love that commitment to yourself, right?
Oh, obsession. Yeah.
Busy man, lots of venues.
Yeah.
How do you manage your priorities to know that Phil's delivering a piece of Phil in the right areas from a day-to-day basis? Like, is it mayhem up here and in terms of juggling everything, or is it reasonably quiet and you know what you're focused on? Like, how does that percolate, right?
Great question. This is probably the hardest it's ever been for me. Just we got the 4 venues. We're building another fish. I'm a bit more hands-on at the Orchard now. The hard thing is, and it's a weird thing, I get a lot of praise for a lot of the success our businesses have had.
Yes.
But what was I saying before about people are the most important thing? So I could probably not go to Percy's for 3 months and it would be as if I was there, because the experience is through the staff that are there. They're giving, they're doing what I would do if I was there. So for me, it comes down to your people. If you have the right people in the right spot, you got a business, you have a great team.
Yep.
You know that you don't have to be there every day. If you have to be there every day, it means that the team's not right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I have a bit of a thing where every business I try to have a business partner that's operationally involved in the business. So Fish, my cousin's involved. He's the one that manages the shop. He's a partner. He's actually a majority partner in that one.
Yeah.
And my role is to help with like hiring staff, marketing, branding, socials, all those kinds of things. So, but it all comes down to people. Like, I get a lot of the praise because I'm more the face of the business, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the people of Brianna and Caroline, our head chef John, Corey, our baristas, you have people there that are doing the thing that you would do if you were there anyway. So it comes down to people. Like, a big bonus of putting effort into culture is that you don't have to be there. I could literally step away from all the businesses today, and I know that the people in there care so much that the business will be great. So
so a good culture helps you with your priorities as a businessman.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I can no longer be, as much as I love doing what I do and serving guests and chatting, and I know sometimes I shouldn't be in the business, I should be working on the business. But again, what I love the most is working in the business. So I'll make time in every business to step in, chat with people. I'll do a busy Saturday service. I'll do a busy Sunday service. One of the things I loved the most at Percy's before I stepped back was being the host. So anyone that walked up and wanted a table, I sat them down. So I'd straight away know that I'm like, hey, James is there with Greg. They're having a meeting. Don't bother them too much. So I know straight away what you're coming in for. If a lady comes in with their kids and a family come with their kids and the kids are unsettled, go offer them free baby chinos. We do this thing where it's bottomless baby chinos. So go get the kids settled so the parents can have a good time. If someone comes in, they're a little bit upset, offer them a free pastry on their house. So that's one thing I loved about being a host. But Brianna, who's the host now and managing the business, she's doing all that, and she's doing it better than I was doing it.
But bro, when you describe that, like that is customer experience on steroids, right? Isn't it?
It's obsession, but it's like it's full obsession, and it is, and I'm probably, if you leave me a bad review, I will. Have you seen Liam Nielsen? I'll find you. But it's not about the bad review. I don't mind the negative. I actually love the feedback. I never want anyone to have bad feedback. But if you've left me a Google review and you got your name on the Google review, I'll find your Facebook. I'll message you privately and say, hey, my name's Phil. I seen your Google review. Yeah. I'm so sorry about your experience. Here's my number. Can you give me a call and we'll discuss? If you look at Percy's, Gella Frenda and Fish, I give my personal number on the Google review page. I'm so sorry about your experience. That shouldn't have happened. Here's my number. Give me a call. Let's discuss. I've had people that I've turned the worst experience I guess has had into a lifetime customer because a lot of times people just want to be heard. Look, there is some people that are happy being unhappy, and they're gonna leave bad reviews just because
that's how it is. Yeah.
That's how it is, So I remember once there was a guy, he ordered banana bread, and the way we serve it dining is how we serve it takeaway. The butter comes in a little packet, all that kind of stuff. And he messaged me on the phone. I was out with my family at the zoo, and he left me just this terrible, rude message. Who the hell do you guys think you are? This next time put the butter on my banana bread. It was just silly.
Yeah.
And he goes, how wanky is this? If you can't do simple banana bread, close your business, blah, blah, blah. And I was with my family at the zoo. And I remember, and I take things real personal. So I said to my wife, take the kids. I need to think about this. I need to reply to this guy. And I just replied to him and said, hey, mate, I'm so sorry. This is why we do what we do, because some people want more butter, some people want less butter. But here's my number. Give me a call next time you're here. It's on the house. Then he replied to me saying an hour later, he's like, hey, mate, sorry. It had nothing to do with the banana bread. I was having a bad day. Do you know what I mean?
There you go.
You know, so for me, it's like, and I tell myself, sometimes people are having a bad day.
Yeah.
Never take it personal. And if they become abusive verbally, I won't accept it 100%.
No,
but a lot of the time, if someone's come and had a bad experience, I want to turn that around. I want to make sure that we do whatever. And it's obsession. You look at anyone that's done anything great in life, if you're a sports player or an athlete or a business, it's the ones that are obsessed with everything about it. There's not one part of the business I'm not obsessed about, you know? So, I'd put it down to obsession for sure.
But we've talked about people having a bad day, and we all have them. But what do you do to manage your sort of mental and physical health and the way you approach the business? Because being so passionate about every aspect of the customer experience, like you just said, you were at the zoo, so it obviously travels with you beyond the business.
My poor wife and kids.
I feel sorry for them. I say, Phil, you go over there. We're looking at the giraffe.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I have to mention Aisha is my wife, and she's been with me since we've had the businesses, before we had the businesses. And there's been times where I'm just in a bad headspace, and she just steps up and like. Again, I get a lot of the praise, but she's just rock solid. Like she's just the most unbelievable, most resilient, hardest worker. And I get a lot of that praise. But talk about mental health, the last 12 months has been the hardest 12 months of my life.
Has it, man?
Yeah, and it's I've had amazing moments in those 12 months, but it's also been like, again, I've probably taken off a bit more than I can chew.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I feel like I'm letting down my Percy staff. I'm letting down my Gella Frenda staff, the Fish staff. I'm not executing the Orchard experience as much as possible. The one thing that's non-negotiable that you have to do is you got to look after yourself. So last year, September last year, I was probably the unhealthiest I'd ever been.
Yes.
Overweight, smoking shisha, you know, the bubbly shisha every night, sometimes twice a night. And eating takeaway 3 times a day, just really unhealthy. And it was the worst I'd ever felt. Like I've never been like, I don't think I've ever been depressed or like, I think the depression any of the depression I've had has been through the businesses. It's been like, I've caused it.
Yeah, it's been extra stress as a result of issues.
100%. Yeah. And it's a blessing also. Like these issues that you have are a blessing because you have a business to have these issues, you know.
Of course. Hey.
But I remember I did the 75 Hard Challenge September last year. Yeah. And it was just the most unbelievable thing. Like it just transformed my whole life. And so I did it, finished it, and since then it's been like last night. I had a really stressful day yesterday. Yeah. Very close to calling and saying, "Hey, can we delay the podcast?" But I was just like, "Oh, if I commit, I want to be here." And I remember, I went home, had dinner with the fam, and it was 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm like, I shouldn't go to the gym. And because I knew I didn't want to go, I said I have to go. Do you know what I mean? So I went to the gym, did my hour workout, went on the treadmill for 45 minutes. Yeah. I know I shouldn't have. I ended up going to bed at 2 a.m. because I trained so late. But it's a training that has allowed me to handle any stress. You have a bad day, you have a bad day, go for a run. It's not that bad.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's not as bad as you think it is once you got out of your own head, you know. Yeah. So,
well, when did you realise that you had to look after yourself first? Was it in the most recent period?
That was So, and like I said, I've been so blessed. I grew up loving family. Never had anything really. Other than working hard, I've never had any real hard challenges. Like I've been pretty blessed. But the challenges that I've faced the last 12 months is amazing challenges. Like how blessed am I? I got 4 businesses in Penrith.
Incredible.
I have the support of the community. We do something, we get backing, but it came at the price of my health. And so the biggest aha moment was when I started doing that challenge, and it just transformed everything. I was a better husband, better father, better owner, better boss, better friend. I was more attentive. That was probably the best 3 months of my whole life.
It's interesting, you know, we speak about this a little bit on this podcast, and I use the word selfish, and it's quite a negative word, right? But I think in a way one needs to be selfish to put themselves, you know, as a priority, because if you can make yourself strong and resilient and feeling right, then you are kinder and better to others, in my view anyhow. It's a weird word, selfish, because it's typically used as a negative word, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't. It's very cliche. You can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
And you have to look out for yourself. You have to make sure you're eating well, you're training, you're doing the things that are good for you, so you can give to others. Like it's non-negotiable. You have to make sure. If I'm not healthy, then I can't go for a long walk with my kids. You know,
No.
When I did the challenge, part of the challenge was you have to do 2 activities a day.
Yes.
So one of them was a walk, and I'd walk every day. And then I started doing Saturday and Sunday, I would walk with my kids from my house to the shops, and it was exactly 45 minutes there and back. And I remember my son, the first time we did the walk, it was the first time I've ever done a big walk with my kids. My son runs home, goes to my wife and says, "That was the best day of my life."
Oh, really?
I was like, far out.
Wow.
Like, I took him for a walk.
Wow.
Because we had so much fun. I want to walk every day. And I was just like, wow. And it happened because I had to I'm doing it to look after myself, but then I incorporated my family and and so now it's like, I'm probably not at the strict level I was at with the challenge, because it's very hard to be that sustainable.
Yeah.
But I'm at 70-80% of what I'm doing. So I know that if I have a gym session, it's not a matter, like I said, if you don't want to do it, it probably means you should do it.
Yeah.
You know, so the health is you can't pour from an empty cup, man.
Trust you to say you can't pour from an empty cup. You're a hospitality person.
Well, there you go.
Now, listen, talking about challenges.
Yeah.
The Orchard.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are you trying to do there when you set the Orchard up? What experience are you trying to create?
So the Orchard has been, I'll give you a backstory. 6 years ago, I had 1 year into Percy's. We opened Percy's a year earlier, and then I drove past the river. They had just changed the zoning along the river.
Yes.
And then they turned it into a commercial property, commercial like hotels, hospitality, whatever. Literally, we seen the site within a month. We had signed. Me and my business partner had signed the lease, and it took us 4 years to build. And we opened it, and we wanted to create a destination for Penrith.
Yes.
You know, you go to the farm. I go to Byron Bay. I go to the farm.
Yeah.
I go to Byron Bay to go to the farm.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put Penrith on the map and say, the Orchard is something where if you go into the Blue Mountains, you have to stop here, or vice versa. You're coming from the Blue Mountains, you have to stop here. People come in Sydney, that has to be one of their to-do lists. We opened, and it's been the most challenging.
Has it?
Yeah, it's been such a challenge because the budget went out like crazy. Mm-hmm. We were so busy when we opened. I wasn't super hands-on at the start. But it doesn't matter if I was. I don't think anyone would have been able to handle the level of how busy it was. And I think we let a lot of people down in the sense of the venue's beautiful, but the guest experience was so inconsistent.
Yes.
You know, but then again, we're not a Percy Plunkett because Percy's more intimate. You know, this is a 5-acre property. So
it's amazing.
The Orchard is, you know, obviously it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, takeaway, orchard, orange trees, picnics. And it's the most amazing venue. And I remember the day we opened, it was probably the most, my dad came down and my dad he's always been worried. My dad's comes from Lebanon, so he worked really hard to create a future for us. And then he sees me taking these kinds of risks, and he's worried. And I remember he came in on the first day we opened, or I think it was a Saturday. We opened Thursday, came Saturday. It was so busy, and I just seen how proud he was. Like he was just the most. It was just there's two people that I want to make my kids proud. I want to make my dad proud. Like they're the things that I always talk about, and seeing how proud my dad is. I felt like at that point, he goes, you know what, my son's going to be okay. I don't have to worry about him. You know what I mean? It was pretty special. And I think, you know, seeing my dad at the Orchard and how busy it was. But then, you know, 3 months into the Orchard, we were very busy, but the foundation work hadn't been done. We hadn't done the stuff that we had done so well at the other businesses, the guest experience, the training, the culture. It was so busy that you're just, it's like a boat that's got holes and you're
just trying to plug it and feed it.
Plug it and feed it. And with that, you know, you got revenue coming in, you got to pay the builders because you're over budget. then your ATO bill's going up, and then your super, you're not paying your super on time, and then you're not, and we pride ourselves on making sure we do all that stuff properly, and you fall behind. And the great thing about the Orchard now is I'm pretty much there full time now, and it's like my project now for the next few months to build it into what we know it can be. But the Orchard, I honestly think there's nothing like it in the whole of Australia. Like the Orchard is a very unique venue. It's everything I have a vision board at home, and like a board that shows all different places that I love, like things that I've seen from 7 years ago, and I take a photo, I'll put it on this board, but it's all my dreams in one. But for a short period there, it felt like a nightmare, So
this is going to be might come across as a negative comment or question, but I guess I'm wanting to get your thoughts. Is it too complex?
The experience?
Is there too much there to make it all work?
So, short answer, yes, but it's because we haven't navigated how the guest experience is. We haven't set up in a way where, like, I'll give you an example. Right now we open 7 days a week. Breakfast, lunch is 7 days. The takeaway food section is 5 days, but sometimes we close early. The takeaway other section is another section where you order from there, but then you can order from another takeaway section. Dinner's only 3 nights a week. So there's just so many inconsistencies. So the first thing I said was coming from the 1st of July, I said, first thing we need to do is create consistency. Close 2 days a week. Other days we're open, everything's open. The cafe, the restaurant, the takeaway, straight away that streamlines thing. Instead of ordering takeaway from 2 different points, we're going to streamline it and put it into one section. So now you know that if you come to order food, takeaway, you're going to go to one section only. You don't have to get coffee from here, but fish and chips from the other half. So absolutely, it's very complex. We were building with all these ideas, and how the Orchard looks is exactly how we wanted it to look. A lot of the finishes can be better, and we're improving that now. But it's a very confusing experience right now. And so our goal now is to simplify it. So from next week, I've closed dinners. From next week, we're only open Wednesday to Sunday, breakfast, lunch only. We're going to eventually reopen for dinner. And we navigate that through socials, through storytelling, all those kinds of things. So, there's like I said, there's 100 little things that the Orchard needs to be fixed at. There's no major issues, but there's 100 little things we need to work on, and making it more of a simpler guest experience is signage. You need proper signage. You got to walk around. You got to see, the general store is what's a general? We got a sign saying general store, but no one knows what a general store is. So having general store and writing underneath goods and takeaway. Order here, bathrooms here. So because so many people come up to the staff while they're working. Where's the bathrooms? I want to go to takeaway coffee. No, you got to go down there. And it's unless you've been there multiple times, it's a very confusing experience.
So what demographic are you looking as a customer base?
Families, kids. It's a venue. We have a 180 seater function center on that spot as well. So I want people to come there and with their family, and then they have such an amazing experience eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They go, our son's turning 1 in 6 months' time. I'd love to have our first birthday party here. We're engaged, and you guys are amazing. We love the venue. We'd love to get married here. You can't create to. The hardest thing is people always trying to find the best way to make revenue. The best way to get more money is to create a genuine, great experience. So I know that if I look after you. When you come to the Orchard, the thing with the Orchard is there's things there I can't do at Percy's, because the Orchard it's literally a theme park for cafes. That's what the Orchard is. You look at the Orchard, and I want you to go down to the Orchard. Let's just say, for example, you're engaged. You come down, you sit down, you have an amazing meal. Wait times are great, service is on point, the vibe's amazing, and then you walk past. You're like, do you guys do weddings here? Yeah, absolutely, we do. Come through, I'll show you through. And it's about. That's how you increase revenue, and everyone wants to go from 0 to 100 straight away. But Percy's is 6 years in, and every year we're growing, and that's very hard to do in this time. And I think with the Orchard, our motto is getting better before we get bigger. Let's strip it right back, and let's start focusing on the 1%ers. Let's start focusing. So yesterday we had a team training session. I talked about the water rule. I talked about if someone wants to sit in the main dining area. Like we're so structured that if we're quiet, imagine on a Monday we're quiet and the whole dining area is empty, but someone wants to get takeaway and sit in there. Sorry, you can't do that. No. Sit them down, say, hey, not a problem. We're quiet today. Take a seat. Just letting you know on weekends, you can't see if it's takeaway, can't see here just because it's. But feel free to sit now. I just wanted to let you know for future if it is a weekend and busy and they say no, that's why. So understanding. So that's my role now is, and all the staff we have at the Orchard are amazing, but it's a matter of us. What's that word? Just being there, being a leader, making sure they're understanding. They ask questions, answer the questions. The chef, something breaks down, fix it straight away. Don't make it stressful where they're trying to run service, but the oven's broken.
Because it just reverberates. Yeah.
It just gets worse and worse. And then eventually they're like, well, this is not worth it, So the whole idea with Percy is, like I was saying, getting better before we get, with the Orchard is getting better before we get bigger. You have to focus on those little things. Do what we do at Percy's, but on a much bigger scale. You probably never get the exact same experience at Percy's, but if we can get to 7%, 70% of what Percy's is, 80%, the Orchard would be the best venue in the whole of Australia.
But just on that, families, right? That's your target.
Yeah.
If I live on the Northern Beaches and I've got a family, should I be interested in coming to the Orchard?
Absolutely. It's like when you go to Berry for the weekend and you go, you want to. It's very destinational. So
yes,
it's the river itself. On a beautiful day, the river is just the most magical place to be in Western Sydney.
Yeah.
And so you have a venue like the Orchard. I would personally, if I seen a venue like the Orchard and I was living in interstate, I would fly to Sydney to come to the Orchard.
Yeah.
We just got to make sure that the experience is so great when they do come that they tell their other friends in the northern suburbs. And that's why you keep growing. You look at the grounds. Why are the grounds so busy?
Exactly.
Why do people come from Penrith to Alexandria? Because they've created this amazing destinational venue, So
I mean, I'm excited by that. And you talked about flying interstate, right? Well, there's a new airport about to open up in 2 years. What's your view on that in terms of how it might impact hospitality in this region?
I think it will impact every industry in Western Sydney. Stuart Ayres was talking about this is a once in a generation.
Yes.
Not you like an airport has been built 15 minutes from Penrith. Like it's just unbelievable. We're so lucky. We're so fortunate, and it's only going to make everything better. Like it's from the value of our properties are going to go up. The businesses are going to go up. Like it's going to create so many jobs for people in Western Sydney, and you fly into the airport, you're 15 minutes away from our venues. Like it's an amazing time to be a business owner or have property in Penrith. I think it's we're so blessed to be in this position we're in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about it as someone that's, from the country, but spends a lot of time in this area. But has a broader perspective in other markets. And I can see that in the next 5 and 10, 15 years, there's going to be huge changes. But I do think, in a way, Penrith takes for granted that beautiful river and some of the amazing venues, including the Orchard. I mean, it is very special. The mix of opportunity there. I mean, it's like none other, as you've said. And so, I don't know. Do you think it was before its time?
I don't think it was before its time because the first 3 months showed us how busy we could be.
Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's before its time. I just think we need to fine-tune things. Yeah. We need to simplify. We need to focus on the things that, like I've been talking about, the culture, the guest experience. And then naturally that'll grow. Like we've got a playground that's one of the most beautiful playgrounds in West Sydney, So, but to do that, like we've got an amazing playground, but our kids' offering is not the best. So, all right, so we've got this beautiful playground. Let's create these really cool milkshakes that kids look at and go, oh, that's crazy, Mum, we want to go down. Like we got this, you've seen that little playground we have at Percy.
Yeah.
And it's like kids go crazy for it, They
love it. Sometimes I walk past and think, if only I was a kid again. It's
crazy. Yeah, 100%. And I think like little things on weekends, you need to have like a little, like I'd love to hire like one of these actors that on weekends they come and work at the Orchard and their job is just to go around and dress up in something, give kids free lollipops and walk around and, on weekends have a gelato cart near the playground so kids can eat their ice cream while they're walking around and doing those things where you post on your socials and then people go, wow, where is that? And then look, we have to go there and it becomes destinational. And, we planned to open a bakery at the Orchard and then as things got a bit tight and money got tight, we changed it from let's open a bakery to let's get wholesale in.
Yes.
But we're getting from somewhere you can get from anywhere else, you know. So part of my plan now is to create a bakery where we're creating our own pastries inside, you know. So there's ways we can do that without having to spend $500,000 on equipment. So just finding, like I said, there's 100 little things we need to do, but it's just a matter of little things, starting little things. Let's fix the things that are broken first. Let's do the team training. And then after we've done the team training, let's follow up and be there with them every day. So, because I can talk all I want, but if I'm not enforcing it and I'm not there leading by example, we had the first week of the Orchard, I got in, a couple of our events team people had finished up, they had put their notice in, and it was myself and someone called Mel. She joined us recently at the Orchard, and she's been amazing. But Sunday night comes and everyone's finished, and me and Mel are sitting there unpacking the function center because there's no one else, because we're still learning as we go, but we're doing this together. Like, I didn't go and say, all right, I'll see you later, Mel. Or she didn't say, I'll see you later, Phil. We said, let's do this.
Let's get it done.
Let's do it done. Like, I'm doing stuff at the Orchard that I haven't done for 5 years at Percy's, you know, like the basic stuff, like pack downs and cleaning the bathroom. Like, you have to do that stuff. Like, this is part of being a business owner, you know, but I understand doing this is going to allow me in 3 to 6 to 12 months turn around, and then I can do what I'm doing with my other businesses, be in there, but not having to be on the floor every day. Now, what's required of me is spending all my time in the business, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm analysing you, but I think it's fascinating because on the one side, you seem to be an ideas guy, right? Like, you've got a bunch of passionate ideas about where you want to take that business.
Yeah.
You know, the bakery is one example, right? And on the other side, you're very grounded on the day-to-day, fix it, work with it, slave away, get it right. So it's interesting because sometimes, you know, we're either one or the other, right?
Yep.
But I think, as you know, as many good business owners would know, it's all right to have an idea, but unless you can deliver it, it's not an idea.
For sure.
It's not gonna make value, right?
So you can't, like, right now the ideas are there, and you kind of work parallel, like I have to fix the things that are important to the business. Otherwise, my ideas are going to be worthless.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So focusing on the sequence of service, focusing on the guest experience, focusing on the culture. And while I'm doing that, I have people. And then again, I met one of my best friends. He was a GM of the grounds for 4 years, and I met him when I went there to work for free. And so we've become so close that next month he's coming on board to help me. And he's going to be the guy that takes away a lot of the pressure from me so I can focus on the day-to-day, you know?
Yes.
So again, anything that I do, I rely on others heavily. So I get a lot of the praise again. Phil's got amazing businesses, but it's like, we've got amazing businesses. Like the staff members that are in there working, they're just as valuable as I am, if not more, you know? So, but right now my role is to get in there, roll your sleeves up and get the hard work done. Otherwise you're going to end up having a beautiful venue with no direction, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. How old are you, Phil?
38.
Gosh, you're getting old, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm struggling. I feel it. I'm feeling it. Feeling it for sure.
Where to from here, man? Like, you've got a project and a half with the Orchard, and it's exciting what you're doing there. But do you look out far, and where do you want to be? Can you see yourself doing this for decades upon decades, or what? Yeah,
I'll do this for as long as I'm alive. Like, I think I need to be smarter about how I do things. I think the brand Fish, I want to turn that into a national brand. Really? I just think if you think about fish and chips, there's one in every suburb of every state across the country. And I think we've found a really good balance between high quality food done really casual and pump out a lot of volume. And Smith Street was only supposed to be one. Fish and Smith Street was only supposed to be one. But what we've received in feedback in that, people are just blown away. We're about to open a second one end of August.
Yes.
But I think for me, that's a separate, like, that you'd have to build a team, CEO and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But I think for me, as I get a bit older, I want to kind of I want to have a couple of venues. I know as you grow, yes, you have great people, but I got to be careful because my kids are 6 and 9, or 2 boys are 6 and 9 now, and I really want to spend a lot of time with them as they get into their teenage years. Yeah. So I got to be careful that every time I'm saying yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. And generally that no is my family. So I got to be smart about how I do things. So if it's a matter of, I don't think other than Fish will grow anywhere else. Yeah. I think I'll always have at least one venue. What that looks like, which venue. I mean, I say that, but then I look at, I could never sell Percy, I could never sell Gella, I could never sell Fish, I could never sell the Orchard. So, but the priority is, you know, I'm at a point where my kids need their parents around. I need them more than they need me in their lives. Like I know what my cup gets full by them being there. But yeah, I think I need to probably focus more on having a couple of really strong businesses and allow me to have a balance between, because if I just had Percy's, it'd be a perfect balance. But my business brain sits there and says,
Wouldn't be satisfied, yeah.
100%. But you have to find a balance between, okay, if I'm going to open another business, I would love to open more where I'm more as a silent partner. I help them get it open.
Yes.
But then if they ask for help, I'm the person I have to help. I wouldn't say, oh, that's not my role. So I've got to be careful what I say yes to next. But the future is just creating a couple of really good venues, or the current venues that we have, focusing on those, making them better. But family, that's the future.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I spoke to a podcast guest last week that knows small business very intimately, and he said, look, James, you've got to understand that not every owner's objective at certain times is growth. You know, sometimes there's also a satisfaction element, and there's being able to, you know, control and influence what they're doing. So, you know, people look at value in different ways, and that depends on, you know, where you are in your journey, and obviously your family are important. I mean, this has been a fascinating little chat.
No, it's always nice to go down memory lane and talk about the past. And I don't like talking about myself because, again, I feel like I constantly get the praise for a lot of our businesses, but it's always nice to kind of go back and look at kind of like the journey and how it started. So,
well, it's important, I think, but also what's exciting is, you know, if you can be a good person but also provide some of that goodness to others, to be themselves, but also deliver an offering that's, you know, designed to deliver a customer experience. I mean, that's very exciting, right? Because it's a team play then, isn't it? Right?
100%.
You know?
100%.
And I can see why you get excited and passionate about that. I know when I visit Percy Plunkett's that there's something special there beyond just food and tables.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you.
I mean, I can feel it, right? And a lot of us can feel it. And
if you ever don't and something's wrong, you let me know, because I always want to know.
You know, the funny thing, I think you, just as you've done with your team, you've created an environment where I think, you know, people will do that invariably. And sometimes when you go to a venue, the environment is such that people want to let you know, but they don't.
Yeah.
You know, we're weird types, humans, sometimes.
Yeah, it's a weird one. You don't want to give them the feedback, but then, you know, I would rather someone coming up to me and saying, hey, this was cold, or this was no good, or the service was average, and then I can fix the problem then and there. Yeah. But if you go home and write a Google review, we haven't solved the problem and you just seem like a cranky person, you know? So, but yeah, I think, if you ever have a bad experience, I want to know 100%.
So what would your dad tell me about you? You said, you know, you want to make him proud. Like, what would his characterization of you be at the moment? If I said to him, listen, Phil's dad, what's his name? His first name? Harley. What's your son Phil like? You know, how do you find him? What's his strengths? What's his weaknesses? What would he say?
Weakness would be takes on too much. Tries to take on too much. Takes, because he doesn't want to take too. He already took his risks of coming over to Australia, but he's like, he probably takes too many risks.
Yeah.
But he's a hard worker and he cares about his people around him.
Yeah.
I think that's.
And what if I said to him, you know, Ali, what do you think? What did Phil get from you? How is he like you? I mean, you know, or you might be able to answer that better than, you know. Did the hard work come?
Oh, anything good I have is from my parents, like the work ethic, the morals, the values. Yeah. I remember my mum, like there was a customer and they came in and they ordered a burger, not happy with the burger. And I think at the time I was like trying to explain to the customer what she goes, lose the sale, don't lose the customer. Give them what they want, give them a refund. And everything we've learned about the way you treat people, the way you care about people, the way the culture we're talking about is how I was raised.
But that's beautiful. Lose a sale, don't lose a customer.
Yeah, just,
you know, that talks to the genuineness we were talking about before of having that longer term view.
Yeah,
you know, don't sweat the individual transaction.
It's not worth it. Yeah, and again, like everything that's good that's come that you know I get compliments about has just been on the back of what my parents have done and raised. And I just remember my dad is just, he's so important to make sure you do the right thing, do the right thing, do the right thing. Because you keep doing the right thing, then everything will work out. Sometimes, you know, you do get taken advantage of by doing the right thing or being too kind, but most of the time, 90% of the time, it's you do the right thing, you be kind to people, and it's always going to come back.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's hard work, kindness, morals, ethics. They're the things I've learned from my dad and my mum. I'm very grateful, very, very grateful.
Phil, thank you very much for being a
Pleasure.
guest on Let's Talk Business. I mean, our audience, I think, are going to enjoy this customer experience, you know, I think Penrith and Western Sydney are very fortunate to have you out and about building awesome venues in hospitality.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. It means a lot. Appreciate you, man.
Cheers, Brad.
Thank you so much.